Hello there. Nigerian public universities have been shut down since February 14th, 2022 due to strike actions by staff unions whose demands are financial in nature. Just today, Friday, 14th of October 2022, the Academic Staff Union of University ASU conditionally called off a strike. Nigerian public universities rely primarily on the government for funding, which is always less than 10% of the national budget, below the African average and UNESCO's minimum of 15%. In comparison, private schools in Nigeria are self-financed either by the founders and also through other private means and high school fees, and are doing better. Findings show that Nigerian students in the US spent about $514 million, which is about 2.5 trillion naira on school fees in 2021, while 19,000 Nigerian students in Ghana spent about 250 billion naira on school fees last year. As the country loses billions of dollars yearly to other nations in school fees, what is the right approach to funding education in this country? Let's find out this and more on this episode of Street Views on Ominira TV.
I think the problem with the public university, which I know is the real problem, and nobody can convince me, is the type of government that we are practicing. The type of democracy we practice is a borrowed democracy. And if we go by this democracy we are practicing, this problem will still occur again. Now we practice a government that the senators, the House of Reps are making decisions for the education sector. You gather a bunch of representatives, some of them are businessmen, and you say this is a special committee on education. Meanwhile, those guys in the Senate are businessmen, most of them, and you tell them to decide for education. It is the type of government that we are practicing that it is making it difficult to fund education. Had it been the professors or ASUs are the lawmakers themselves, if we make them the lawmakers, which that is what democracy is about, government from the people who represent education are the ones that are supposed to be passing laws on education. Now you go and leave the Senate, the House of Reps to decide for the professors. There's going to be problem. So the kind of democracy we should be practicing is that the ASU should be those who are making laws for education.
I think the issue we're having now is I would say a generational problem, because if you check what has been existing before, Nigerian student has enjoyed a free education, a proper education before. We've had a situation where people were schooling, they were feeding them, they were doing their laundry and all. So even if we are going to get to the transition of where people are going to be paying for their education, probably at high amount, there should be a way we are going to see that. You know, when you pay for a system and you could see that it is working. If you go to abroad and some other countries, even the living expenses is very high compared to what we have in Nigeria. But what you can see is when you pay the system, you can see what is going on. We've seen a whole lot of money that have been given to educational sector for the past years, but we don't see any transformation, maybe little. So and whatever it is, even if you are going to be paying in that amount, one, just like I mentioned, that we want to see the changes, we want to see where our money is going to. Then there can definitely be some other ways too, where people that don't have up to that amount, that they can find a way to pay it. What I mean by that, if you check the other countries, there are scholarships, there are ways you can get student loan where you pay bit by bit and all. So these are things that if they make this thing available, they make the system working. I mean in terms of facilities, paying the lecturers well, and we can see that, oh, this thing is actually working. Everybody will also be willing to pay for it.
During one of those periods before the strike was cut off, I think maybe it was not official, but we didn't hear anything. But ASU said, maybe federal government proposed increasing the school fees of students. So, and ASU rejected that because if they are going to do that, it will cost a lot of money, and not everybody will be able to afford education. Even with the current system, some people still have difficulties paying their school fees. So imagine increasing the fee. So a lot of people are going to have difficulties paying. And from my own perspective, I think that's the only option that is viable, which is viable, that will be able to propel the education to the required level.
Yeah, you see one thing, those people that put their children in public university, they don't have enough. Some can't not even free 3 square meal, but the children strive, use their maybe means of little earning to get admission to the universities. So okay, if you said they should increase the payment of the payment of the university, that it should be increased, you can see that a lot of people will not be able to attend the public university. So that's what I see there.
It actually does not need to be high, based on like talking about the school fees. For there to be a good school system, it all boils down on management and our leadership in Nigeria. We don't really have good leaders who have the heart for education. You see them wanting to rubbish the whole school system. The schools we are talking about outside the country, it is we going over there, paying in dollars, converting the money in our naira to dollar. That's what makes it high. But right there are scholarships. Their school fees are not even that expensive compared to when you're not doing the exchange rates. Like if I'm working in the US now, I earn $15 per hour, I should be able to afford my school fees. At the end of the month, at least I should be having roughly like $3,000 or $4,000 at the end of the month. And then my school system runs for 3 months. I can be working and be schooling. So the thing is, one is governance, no good governance and no good leadership. It does not have to be high for it to be a good school.
Corruption is even the problem of this country, killing the education. When you pump money there, okay, if you pump 200 million naira there, okay, what we are going to see there, is it up to 200 million? ASU and the federal government, they should work it out. We don't want a situation where this kind of useless, I call it useless strike, you get me now, because you waste a whole time of the student at home. You get me now. We want you to make a spade a spade. Federal government, do what you want to do now. Not that as we come back maybe next 2 months again, 3 months, you need to fulfill your promises. If you know you can't fulfill any promises, don't promise any ASU what you cannot do. Tell them what you can do. You get me? So we don't want a situation where the time of the student will be jeopardized one way or the other. So that's just it.
So I think one, giving it to private individuals who can handle school. Our private schools in Nigeria are actually doing well. You don't hear them go to strike because they are managed by private individuals. And then it can also be managed by states. Every state manage your own university. Thank you.
I think the kind of government we should be practicing is that ASU, Nigerian Bar Association, Medical Association, the federal government should be dealing with them directly. That means the Constitution of Nigeria has to be changed if you want education to be funded properly. Otherwise, this problem will continue.
Nigeria generally needs restructuring. There are some ways, or let me say some sectors, where we ought to have been getting some monies to fund education and some other sectors too. But there are some people behind all these things that are not making it working. Do you understand? So, in as much as we are looking for a direct solution, there might not be a direct solution. until all the major sectors are working. I can't say there is no money in Nigeria. There is money in Nigeria that we can use to fund this education. Do you understand? But the thing is, we are not getting the right people to do it. So I won't say we have a direct solution now how the ASUU strike will not be able to come up anymore. But the general solution that we have is restructuring of this all the sectors in Nigeria.
The solution, there should be a specific percentage, because we heard that the federal government was going to give adequate attention to education, but it's not happening. There should be a particular percentage allocated for education. Then school fees should be increased reasonably, and if after all this we still don't see any improvements on education, I don't think there's any other option that can be proposed. But we all know if you are going to be sincere that increments is the best solution right now, because we keep relying on the federal government and we keep going on strike. Imagine 8 months, almost a year gone, and we can, if you look back on recent strikes, same thing, reliance. So I think if they increase the school fee and there is a tangible percentage given to education on the national budget, it's going to actually help and it's going to grow a lot. So those are the two options: a reasonable percentage and increments.
Okay, about funding of public universities, I feel like maybe the government can provide more than they are actually paying them right now. They can inject more funds into universities all around Nigeria, and maybe students can pay more than what they are paying right now. Maybe if you are paying 40-something or 50-something, you can be paying 70-something or at least 100,000. Though everybody is not financially buoyant, but they can still, at least, we'll all adapt to it. We'll still pay it. If they tell us tomorrow to start paying 100K now, we'll find it and we'll pay it. They can increase other fees too. Maybe hostel allowance, SU fee, all those fees that we pay 2,000, 1,000 naira for. Maybe we can be paying 3,000, 4,000 for it. Maybe it will help. I'm not sure if that's the total solution, but most importantly, government has to put down more money, because most of the time the problem is always poor funding and all of that. So if the government will try to direct more funds towards the universities, all the state fund and all these bodies that are in charge of giving public universities money, maybe they can give them more money and maybe things will be fine actually.
So there you have it. Public universities in Nigeria can actually receive the adequate funding they seek for to elevate the level of education in this country through public and private funding. And if that is done, handled properly, I think we will have a better public university system in this country. Okay? So until I come your way again next time on this program, I am AJ Kingsley. Have a nice day.